And for more on the Gaza crisis, we turn to Rochelle Davis. She is a professor of cultural anthropology at Georgetown University here in Washington, D.C. Thank you for joining us tonight. With nowhere for Gazans to flee on a human level, we have been seeing the immediate consequences, the rising death toll, the injuries. What are the long-term consequences here?
Well, I think it's both the causes of the war and sort of the immediate death and destruction of Gaza's infrastructure and Gazan lives. But on the longer term, the war takes out the people and the infrastructure. But because of the siege and the closure and the embargo that's been in place since 2006, Gazans are unable to go anywhere, and they're also unable to rebuild because Israel has a sort of a chokehold on anything that comes in or goes out of the Gaza Strip, whether that's human or material goods.
So there is a humanitarian crisis that is continuing to grow and get worse. What sort of role can the international community play in curbing this crisis? Not talking about brokering a ceasefire, but just taking care of the people who were there.
Well, that also is very difficult to do because, as I said, Israel sort of controls anything that goes in or out, and that's by land, sea, or air. There's an incredible need for medical supplies at the moment, for example, but those are almost impossible to get in, except for little dribs and drabs that come through. And so one thing the international community could do would be to pressure Israel to allow just medical supplies in. But then you also have issues of food and water and electricity, with Israel sort of destroying the infrastructure that is there. You know, Palestinians are without those very vital, water and the ability to survive.
And that was an issue even before this ground incursion began, the lack of water, food, other resources. How realistic would it be to get some of that aid in there? Are we talking days, weeks, whenever this is all over?
Well, I mean, the supplies are all around. I mean, whether that is through Egypt and getting Egypt to sort of open its border and Israel to agree to that with the Gaza Strip, or supplies coming from the West Bank or from the sea or any other way. I mean, the will and the material goods are there. It is the sort of the larger blockade of Gaza that is the Israeli blockade of Gaza that is the problem.
Talk about the experience of war affecting civilians. You know, this has happened before. We've seen something similar to this in recent years, quite a few times in recent years. But you have children living through this, witnessing it. Talk about that.
Well, the 4 boys who were killed yesterday on Gaza's beach were 9 to 10-year-old 4 boys. This was the 3rd Israeli war on Gaza that they had witnessed in their lives. And so this cycle of violence that they are living through continues with impunity, because there are no repercussions for Israel when it does anything in Gaza. And that is you know, it's as you said, it's a captive population that has nowhere to go. 1.8 million people sort of subjected to the whims of Israel's ability to control their every sort of breath, and their own political leadership sort of very unable to do much about it. So, you know, people are trying to take refuge in places that they hope won't be bombed. You see pictures of them sleeping out in the open and in United Nations schools because they believe that those are safe places. But both the International Committee of the Red Cross, as well as the United Nations Humanitarian Affairs, have condemned this sort of the existence of the Gaza Strip in the way that Israel controls it as collective punishment. So 1.8 million people are subjected to the collective punishment of a country that is punishing them because they are Palestinians and because of their political sort of choices.
All right, Rochelle Davis, we appreciate your insight. Thank you so much for joining us here on the show.
Thank you.